Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Thecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show that we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook Live and YouTube. So if you are joining us from either of those places, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment down below. Hopefully I'll be able to address everything as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can answer anything individually for you. But let's get started here with a look at our headlines. Through the rest of the night, we're tracking out partly cloudy skies. We do have that dry front that's moving in from the north. Again, not a lot of moisture with it, but it will increase our cloud cover a little bit through the overnight hours, and I can't completely rule out a sprinkle, but I don't really think we're going to see any precipitation out of it. And that front will bring in some cooler air as we head into tomorrow, so a lot cooler Sunday than it was this afternoon, but that doesn't last long. We've got a huge warm-up on the way through the rest of next week, and Christmas Day potentially looking like the hottest day of the next 7-day period and potentially one of the warmest Christmases we've had on record. So I'll break down those details for you here in a moment. But let's start off with a look at a national view of our Doppler radar. We've got this area of low pressure that's tracking quickly across the Great Lakes and pushing out towards northern New England, but just to the south of it, that's where that front is hanging out, and that's what's going to slowly pass overhead overnight tonight. And again, there's not a lot of moisture with it here, so not expecting precipitation, but a stray sprinkle or a flurry can't be completely ruled out overnight as that passes overhead. But taking a closer look at our Doppler radar, we're just looking at some higher level thin clouds streaming on in out ahead of that front currently. But over the next couple of hours, that front will pass overhead. High pressure will build in by tomorrow, and that'll clear out some of that cloud cover through the morning hours and will become mostly sunny as we head through the afternoon with winds out of the north. Of course, that's going to continue to pump in that cooler air, but that high pressure slides off to our east as we head into Monday. So that's what's going to kickstart that warming trend through next week. But here's a look at our current temperatures. Looking at the current conditions, we've got mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. Temperatures are hanging out mostly in the 40s. There's still a few 50s where that cloud cover is hanging out a little bit more. Madisonville 51 with mostly cloudy skies, but the rest of us who are clear are hanging out in the lower 40s. 44 here in Evansville, and that actually puts us around 10 to 15 degrees warmer than where we were just 24 hours ago compared to yesterday. So that cold front moved in Thursday, cooled us down Friday, and then we had a nice warm up today, and that cold front's going to cool us back down again as we head into tomorrow. But here's a look at your next 12 hours. We'll continue to see temperatures drop down into the upper 20s to right around 30 degrees, and tomorrow we'll actually warm right back up to what's average for this time of year. However, it is colder than what it was for today. So 44 for our high tomorrow afternoon, cooler, mostly sunny skies, and that warming trend continues into next week. Our temperature outlook showing well above average conditions are expected for much of the entire country, especially the central plains and into the south central plains as well. That includes here in the Midwest and the Ohio River Valley. And looking at our temperature trend, you'll notice that warm up. Our average highs are typically right around 44 degrees. So we'll be on par with that tomorrow. Our average lows hanging out around 29. We'll be on par with that tomorrow and even in Monday morning. But it's Monday afternoon that we start to pop up above average, climbing up through the 50s and eventually topping out into the 60s by Tuesday and Wednesday, all the way into the upper 60s possibly by the time we get into Thursday for Christmas Day. I wouldn't be surprised if there were even a few locations around 70 degrees or at 70, especially farther south through western Kentucky. And looking at our warmest Christmases on record and seeing how this forecast kind of stacks up to that, if our temperature of 69 degrees were to verify, that would put us in second place for the warmest Christmas on record, below 2021 where we had a record high of 72 degrees. Now yesterday our forecast was 68, so that put us tied for second with 2019 and 1982, but as we get closer here, it looks like the models just want to keep pumping in that heat. So I would not be surprised if we continue to see this forecast high bump up another degree or two by the time we get into Thursday. So we'll kind of keep a running track here of where that forecast lands plans on our warmest Christmases up until, of course, Christmas Day, and we'll actually get a final answer on where it stacks up. But outside of the heat, we're going to notice some chances for some showers and a few thunderstorms, but we're not expecting anything major moving through the tri-state next week. It's simply because we have winds coming up out of the south. Not only is that going to pump in the heat, but it's going to introduce some extra moisture. So that high slides off to the southeast by Monday, and that brings in the chance for a few scattered showers Monday afternoon and into Monday night, lingering there into Tuesday morning. And then it looks like we have the chance for showers once again Tuesday into Wednesday, a little bit more isolated. And then as we get into Christmas Day, most of that shower activity looks to shift off to the north and east of us. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we still caught a stray sprinkle throughout the day on Christmas, but I'm expecting right now partly sunny skies, mostly dry, but again, stray sprinkle is still possible out there for Christmas Day. But at least it's going to be warm. We've got temperatures in the upper 60s for Thursday, and then we still hang out in the 60s there through Friday before we start to gradually cool back down into the 50s by the time we get into next weekend. But outside of Christmas, we've got another big day coming in for tomorrow. That is Sunday, the first day of winter. We are now officially starting winter. I know it's felt like winter for quite some time here. We had a very cold end of fall, but the winter solstice is tomorrow, and that's around 9:03 or 9:04 Central Standard Time tomorrow morning. And pretty much what that means is that the sun is going to be directly overhead the Tropic of Capricorn, which is in the southern hemisphere. So now, while we're entering winter, the southern hemisphere of the Earth is now entering summer. So they get to enjoy all the sunshine and warmth while we suffer here in the darkness and in the cold. But it doesn't last forever. Good news is that once we get into the winter solstice, our days are actually going to start to get a little bit longer. So that's just thinking on the positive side of things. But looking at the amount of daylight on the winter solstice, of course, it is the shortest amount of daylight in the northern hemisphere throughout the entire year. The Arctic Circle gets 0 hours of daylight for tomorrow. The Tropic of Cancer, around 10.5 hours of daylight. The equator, still looking at around 12 hours, and the Tropic of Capricorn looking at around 13.5 hours of daylight. And of course, in the South Pole, the Antarctic Circle, looking at around 24 hours of daylight. But that is all I have here for the 14 First Alert weather show. Let me go ahead and skip all the way back down to the 7-day forecast for you so I can pull that up and you guys can get a better look at it. But I'm happy to answer any questions or comments that you may have about the forecast coming up here. So it looks like Emma is saying good evening. Cheyenne is also saying good evening. Good evening to you guys. Suzanne says good evening and hopes the winds are not too strong. Yeah, it does look like it may be breezy throughout the week next week, but it doesn't look like anything overly strong. Certainly not like what we had on Thursday with those winds. But it's going to be warm. Not going to be the sunniest week, I don't think, but we'll take it. It's 69 degrees. It could be a lot worse. It could be frigid out there, but I'm imagining lots of people in short sleeves and shorts Christmas Day. Chris Smith, best weather forecast for Christmas, hands down, period. I agree with you, Chris. We love the warmth here. We talk about it almost nightly whenever we've got a nice warm day. But that is all I've got here for the forecast. I'm going to hop off the live stream. I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Until then, everybody, stay safe. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you